The media circus has returned home. Social media trolls are now busy with other conspiracy theories. The national attention is slowly fading away. Meghalaya is no longer being targeted, but the last 30 days have left the northeast and especially Meghalaya with several questions, some answers and a lot to think about. In this week's Decoded, I will try to explain what happened in Meghalaya and why there is now a need for media houses like EastMojo more than ever, and how Raja's murder and the coverage it received makes the US travel advisory rather sensible. Muslim for months.
Village of Assam
in the 75th Independence Day.
Nothing that happened before May 23 matters to us as journalists. I mean, the story was never that a couple from Madhya Pradesh had picked Meghalaya as their honeymoon destination. That is expected and normal. Until May 22, the Raghuvanshis were a lot of things. Young, married, curious about Meghalaya's beauty, but they were not national news. And they were certainly not a tool that would be used to harm the image of Meghalaya. This was to change on May 23. And how? Not that the US travel advisory was impacted by this murder. I would like to point out that from the beginning, the news was portrayed in a problematic manner. Deaths are not new to Meghalaya or any northeast state. This is the monsoon season where deaths are so common that most do not even make it to the news. The national media was not worried that 2 people may have died in the northeast. It was that 2 mainlanders, 2 tourists had gone missing in Meghalaya and that they could not be traced. When the start of news coverage is by pointing fingers at locals, authorities and not trying to understand what actually happened, the rest can only be problematic. And over the next 2 weeks, it became clear that the state of Meghalaya was on trial. When is a crime just a law and order situation? Because it seems in the northeast, the reaction to a murder is directly dependent on who the victims are and who the perpetrators are. The national media was not worried about the fact that 2 people died in Meghalaya. Their attention was solely because 2 tourists from mainland India had gone missing in the northeast. You see, the lives of tourists are always valued more than those of locals, and nowhere is this more evident than in northeast India. In this case, the locals were not only accused but convicted by the national media even before the bodies had been found. The fact that from day one, locals worked day and night to locate the bodies without receiving a dime in return does not matter. The experiences of millions of tourists who roam around happily in Meghalaya do not matter. The testimonies of guides and experts do not matter. Racism is not just discrimination against someone based on their color or features. It is about the dismissal of their narratives. When locals pleaded innocence, it was met with cynicism rather than compassion. Such was the pressure on the police that they could not even speak about the idea that maybe Sonam was not dead, that she was alive and probably had played a role in killing her husband. Contrast this with when 5 Meghalaya residents were murdered in cold blood by Assam forest officials in Mukro. I'm pretty sure that barring a few Meghalaya residents, no one even remembers that incident. But we do, because like Sohra, we were there too, to report from the ground. The case of Raja Raghuvanshi and Sonam Raghuvanshi will now move to the Hindi heartland. Meghalaya's role for now seems over. But what will forever leave a bitter taste in the mouth is the sheer abuse that the state and its residents received for doing nothing except searching for the victims through rain and fog, through cold and humidity, and for no return. There is an important lesson here. You see, before the explosive revelations that Sonam had allegedly killed Raja, no national media bothered to visit the ground. Barring EastMojo, only local and Meghalaya-specific channels were at the spot battling heat and rains to ensure that their viewers got the true, honest picture instead of cheaply produced videos that had become the hallmark of national media. What makes both the media reportage and social media reactions interesting is how stereotypes against the Northeast were at work. Media reports called Meghalaya crime-prone, unstable, and a place full of danger. These sentiments were echoed by netizens who targeted people from the Northeast as savages and junglis. The immediate assumption was that people from the Northeast were involved in this heinous crime. Interestingly, these are not really new terms but colonial constructs that have continued in post-colonial usages. In several colonial works on the history of the northeastern region, including those by Edward Gate, T.C. Hudson, Alexander Mackenzie, etc., it has been referred to as remote, a land of tribal unruliness, and a land of junglis. Such work rendered the northeast as difficult to administer because of its terrain, geography, and climate. Even after 77 years of independence, the colonial tropes continue to be used in nationalist imaginations of the area. Social media users asked each other to avoid unexplored and exotic places. They opined that it is better to stick to crowded and familiar places. Some even stated how the Northeast is a land of black magicians who perform spells on outsiders. There was also a demand to hand over the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation, or the CBI. It reflected a mistrust in the Meghalaya state government and the police. The overtly racist stereotypes and portrayals have no empirical backing but are still widely prevalent. For instance, neither is Meghalaya crime-prone nor is the northeastern area full of black magicians. However, this continued widespread prevalence of stereotypical notions and biases can be attributed to the complete erasure of the northeastern region from public conscience. There is little recognition of the region in Indian history and culture. NCERT curriculum, for instance, has little reference to the region's history and cultural distinctiveness in subjects like history and social sciences. To cite another example, the idea of Indian food is restricted to cuisines from specific regions, for example North or South, etc., but rarely includes food from Northeast India. Cuisines of the region are categorized as ethnic. And let us reverse roles. The media and society are not interested in when victims are marginalized people. In fact, in the same period, several other crimes did not make similar kinds of headlines. For instance, the body of Roshpita Hojai, a 26-year-old woman from the Dimahasau district of Assam, was found on Tuesday along the banks of a river in Pauri Garhwal district of Uttarakhand. But this case has not ignited media debates like Raja Raghuvanshi's. Because why? Okay, so we initially thought that we will make this a separate Decoded episode, and we may well do that, but for now let us touch on this. The Meghalaya Chief Minister was visibly upset when the US travel advisory issued on June 16, cautioning its citizens against visiting Meghalaya came out. Here is what he said.
It's a matter of concern. I have already shared that I will be going and meeting the US ambassador and through the MEA and even through the MHA and informing them that this kind of notification has come out, which is absolutely incorrect, and would request the US Embassy to change the notification. I hope that they will be satisfied with that explanation and with the interference and with the support and necessary coordination with the MEA. We should be able to rectify that the wrong notification that has come out.
His reaction is expected, but I, for one, cannot blame the US government for taking such a negative attitude towards Meghalaya. I mean, when even fellow Indians cannot rid themselves of the racist tropes that they have about the Northeast, should I really be expecting the US to believe anything else about us? If the Delhi media cannot get it right about us, how can Washington? I mean, the US travel advisory came well after Raja's murder had been solved. Did it stop mainlanders from shaming Meghalaya? And when we Indians cannot shed our prejudice against fellow Indians, can we really expect Americans to do better?
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to EastMojo. For any queries, put them down in the comments section below and press on the bell icon for notifications.